Show starts right now.
One of those nights in the NBA, man. One of those nights. I think in the Eastern Conference, it's a game you just wrap up, you admire it maybe for a second, and you throw it away. The game in the Western Conference probably has more legs, more implications moving forward. It's a Stephen A. Smith Show. It's ESPN Radio. 1-888-729-3776 is the phone number. I'm going to need some calls. I'm Randy Scott. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I'm not used to the solo show vibe. I have mad respect for everybody who does it. Stephen A. does it at a high level. A lot of people before, actually, only a handful of people before him did it at a high level. But not having someone to play off of, not having someone to laugh at your jokes, even if they are pity laughs, and you can talk to people I work with on SportsCenter. You can find me SportsCenter AM, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday. I need that. I usually am fueled by that. So we're going to need some calls. Again, 888-729-3776. It is the Stephen A. Smith Show. Brought to you by Indeed. Used by over 3 million businesses for hiring. You post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. It's time for Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. It'd be nice to jump into this and just throw out Straight Talk and say the Rockets are done. It'd be nice to say James Harden's act is wearing thin. It'd be nice to say, leading into a game where James Harden said, I just want a fair chance. I just want to be officiated fairly, for him to have sort of walked a quote-unquote straight line and played the game without trying to, draw calls in a creative and theatrical fashion. Didn't get that last night. Didn't get that. Where James Harden has a point, though, is the fact that he was slapped in the face. In the face! Yes, in the face! And Draymond Green got him. And Green acknowledged it almost immediately. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not in the here and now, because he had a 5-on-4 break going back the other way, and Kevin Durant turned James Harden on his knees, temporarily blinded, turned that into a made three at the other end. But then Draymond came back. And he apologized, and he checked on him. He said, hey, my bad. And he said as much after the game. And quite frankly, on the court and at the mic last night in Oakland, Draymond Green was the MVP. You can have 29 points from Kevin Durant. Bad shooting night, though, by his standards. I had 9 for 22 from the floor. But you take Durant, take what Steph did, take what Clay did on a bum ankle. Take all that. It's good. You have that. And I know Draymond didn't have a triple-double, but for the first time in the last decade, regular season or playoffs, all 5 of Golden State's starters had 15 or more points. And let's be honest. Draymond's the weak link scoring-wise, right? His stuff is largely intangible. You got the rebounds, you got the assists. He's one of the best passing guys for his size, this side of Nikola Jokic. Like he's real in that. But he's the intangible, he's the spark, he's the heartbeat, he's all that stuff that you can't quantify. Well, we quantified it last night. He had 15 rebounds, and then after the game, he addressed one of the storylines coming into Game 2 that was driving me insane. And I think there are more people out there like me than who were rooting for an officiating storyline. And this isn't because nobody's trying to, keep a good relationship with the NBA and we don't want to draw attention to negative things. Nobody wants to talk about the refs. This time of year, no one wants that. And not even Draymond Green. So on a night where Green had 15 points, flirted with a triple-double, yeah, he got a tech, and we'll talk about that in a minute because Draymond can't have a perfect night, Lord knows. But Draymond Green was the voice of reason. Here's Draymond talking about this annoying officiating storyline that dogged this series that, thank goodness, we didn't have to touch on last night.
I think both teams just realized what the hell was going on the last 2 days. You can't really turn a blind eye to anything in today's day and age with social media and all these things. So everyone was aware of all the talk about officiating, about foul calls. Come out and play the game. And I think both teams did a great job of that. They weren't complaining about many calls. We weren't complaining about many calls because It's kind of embarrassing for the game of basketball. How much has been talked about fouls and officiating. Like, what about beating your man? What about stopping your man? No one talked anything about schemes the last 2 days. It's all been about foul calls. So I think both teams were just locked in on coming out and playing the game to the best of their ability, and you got to give credit to both clubs. Both teams did that.
That's one of those, and when I wake up in the middle of the night to come in, I live a couple hours away from Bristol, and I get up and I got to be here at 4 a.m. So I'm sort of looking at the ESPN app, which you can download, by the way. I'd be remiss in not mentioning that. ESPN Plus, too, you can do all that. But I look at that headline on my phone, and I'm bleary-eyed, and it's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm like, is he being sarcastic right now? Like, I can't hear it because I'm not about to wake my wife up, but is Draymond being real? Right? Is this sarcastic like we saw from Chris Paul when a foul was finally called on a Rockets three-point attempt last night, and Chris Paul stomping around, clapping around, sarcastic, getting the crowd into it? Was he being legit? And you heard the man. That is as sincere. That you talk about straight talk. That is straight talk from Draymond Green. But we also know who or what he's talking about indirectly, right? You want to point fingers at why we're talking about officiating. It's Houston, and it goes pretty high up. It's not just James Harden. It's not just Mike D'Antoni, who's pointing out 12 possible points that his team didn't get in Game 1. If I'm a losing coach, I'm bringing it up too. I cannot blame the man for going about his business that way. But the reason this became a storyline is because of Harden, because of D'Antoni. It goes up the food chain in the Rockets organization because suddenly we're made aware of an audit that they did. Basically, I don't know, you can call it snitching? What do you want to call it? They went crying to the league after Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. They said, hey, we did an audit. We were real with it. We threw out some scenarios where maybe even the Warriors were robbed of some potential scoring, and we feel like we should have been plus 18 in that game. And if I'm the NBA, and they are more professional than any of my sarcastic knee-jerk reactions put together, but if I'm the NBA, I'm saying, why don't you guys hit a jump shot? Why don't you guys make a three, 1 3, let alone many threes, to necessitate an entire report? You make 1 3, we're not having this conversation. You guys are Western Conference champs. You probably get a ring, taking care of business against LeBron and company. So that's how much this was in Houston's head coming into Game 1. Then they feel like they were landing zone areas. How many people knew what a landing zone was in the NBA before Game 1? And now that's something we're talking about. We're not talking about James Harden's sort of gradual, slow, annual disappearing act come this time of year. We're not talking about that. It's a nice deflection to talk about the officiating. We're not talking about James Harden pulling a Dothraki army in the first 47 seconds of battle at Winterfell, where that light slowly gets extinguished and a few stragglers come running back to the Unsullied, right? Like, we're not talking about that being James Harden. We're talking about the officiating. Well, last night, where Harden deserves a lot of credit, especially coming into Game 2 with a target on his back, where he deserves a ton of credit is by getting hit in the face coming back into the game. You saw it, and if you didn't, you've seen the memes so far today. The man has become a crying Jordan-level meme for having bloodshot eyes because he was smacked in the face by Draymond. No call. No call. And if I'm Harden coming in, where I have made my point, and my organization has my back, talking about a lack of calls to benefit me, a reigning MVP, and a lot of people's eyes, including my own, deserves to be a 2-time MVP, and you get hit in the face on national television, and you don't get a call? I'm losing it. If I'm even coming back in that game after the x-rays were negative, thank goodness, but I am losing my mind. And Harden didn't do that. Because before he got hurt with, what did we say, 6:07? Is that what we said, about 6:07 in the first quarter? 6:27. When he leaves at 6:27 because he is temporarily blinded to go get those x-rays, and he comes back with 7:09 to play in the second quarter. So it's about 11 minutes of game action. Scoreless to that point. So even when he had 2 good eyes, 2 working eyes, he had as many points as all of us listening to this. He comes back in, and he's not mad. Maybe he's mad, but he's not letting it get the best of him. He's not letting it distract him. He comes back into that game and goes for 29 points. He matches Kevin Durant's point total. I want to make sure I have this right. Harden played 34 minutes, and I got Durant going for 44. So in 10 fewer minutes, he had as many points as Kevin Durant. I give Harden a lot of credit for coming back in that game. But I also know, and so do you, that what we heard from Draymond Green, saying that the whining and complaining about the officiating was embarrassing, we know who he's talking about. And here is the focus of that. Here's Harden talking about Draymond's comments after the Game 2 loss.
Draymond was just sitting here saying all the ref chatter the last couple of days, embarrassing for the game. He thought that was the conversation. And he felt like both teams tonight kind of just cut out a lot of the complaining. Did you agree?
I don't know. I was chilling. You know what I mean?
What ref chatter?
That became the storyline of the series.
There was no chatter. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't a conversation.
For us, we was trying to get ready for Game 2.
There was chatter. Like that's annoying. It's a tough spot for Harden to be put in, I guess, because he's not going to say, "Oh yeah, I was trying to get more calls. It didn't work. I got my usual and my average come playoff time about 9 free throw attempts. That's what he gets. It's down. The man gets double digits during the regular season, so he got his usual 9, went for 29 points." Maybe that's something, maybe that's the spark that he needs, but he can't say that it wasn't a storyline. He can't say who's chatting because the soundbite that we heard for 2 full days on this radio show, on every other television property that Stephen A. Smith touches. It is the Stephen A. Smith Show, by the way, on ESPN Radio. Randy Scott in for Stephen A. You can direct all your frustration to me and not to the show. I'm just the substitute teacher that comes in and puts on the film strip and tells everybody we're going to keep the lights down and we're going to get out of this together. That's what I'm doing. But you heard it on all of Stephen A's properties, right? You heard it on First Take. You heard it on NBA Countdown, where sometimes he makes appearances. You heard it on this radio program. You saw it on social media. I just want a fair chance, says the MVP, who goes to the line more than anybody on three-point attempts. He just wants a fair chance. Well, that's the problem, is now we're back to, this is fair. Welcome to fair. That's what this looks like. You're being officiated like everybody else. And Rocket fans, and James Harden fans, and stans. Like, you're going to say he's the MVP. So what happened to star treatment? What happened to the Jordan rules? I'm not saying you don't have a point. I'm just saying if you want it fair, you're living it. And you're down 2-0. And that's where Houston is right now. And now you're going home. And for as much as I acknowledge it, I'm piling on right now. It's not helpful. It's not constructive. I have friends in the Houston area. Shout out Humble, Texas. Don't pronounce the first H. But I acknowledge that if you guys do what you're capable of doing, if Houston, because the Rockets' ceiling hasn't changed, so if the Rockets play like they are capable of playing, if the Rockets play like they have in 3 of 4 matchups against the Warriors this season and win decisively on Saturday in Game 3, I guarantee you all day Sunday and all day Monday leading up to Game 4, we're going to be talking about how maybe the Warriors are in trouble. That's how much this swings. That's how quickly this moves. But you can't tell me you like where you're sitting right now as a Rockets fan. That may all change by midnight, 1 a.m. on Saturday night into Sunday morning. This could all change. And we could be talking about the resiliency of James Harden. And if Kevin Durant has another shooting performance like he had, 9 of 22, it's not great. Goodness knows he set the bar crazy high. But if Durant isn't great again and the Rockets are, and they take Game 3, the narrative changes. And so does the conversation come Sunday and certainly into Monday. I put out the request and the call for calls to help us through on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Randy Scott in for Stephen A. Where do we go? I mean, there's a lot of Rockets. I see. Can we go with Corey in South Carolina talking about the Rockets' chances? Because I'm hopefully finding someone who's more hopeful in Houston than I am. Corey, you're on the Stephen A. Smith Show.
What's going on, man? I'm very hopeful for the Houston Rockets. I feel like it got to take the next game for me not to be hopeful for those guys, because the way the Rockets playing, they leaving a lot of points at the free throw line from Game 1. They left a lot of points there at the free throw line, so they can't really blame the refs. They have to stop fighting with the refs, because if you fight with the refs and Golden State, at the end of the day, you're not going to win. So their best bet is just to worry about Golden State and keep living and dying by the 3. That's how I feel at the end of the day about it.
You're ready. Are you a Rockets fan, Corey?
Yes, sir.
So are you ready to live and die by the 3 again? Because you've done that, right? Like you've done that against this team at this stage. Actually, one round farther, right? I mean, you're talking Game 7, Western Conference Final. You're ready to just let the chips fall. That's our game. Drive, kick, drive, kick.
That's what got us there. That isolation and living down by that 3. That's what got us there with James Harden.
Yeah.
So I say keep going with it.
The offensive rebounding was startling last night, Corey. I feel like free throw line, you guys were fine, 20-25. But out-rebounded on the offense, 18. You gave up 18 offensive rebounds to a pretty, I'll call them undersized. I mean, Jerebko got 10 minutes. Bogut got 2. How do you explain all that?
Jerebko, because I didn't expect Jerebko to come out like that. He just came off the bench and when Curry got hurt with his finger. So they probably took Jerebko lightly on that too. And with Bogut, he started playing big. So it just Capella, he's going to step up on the inside along with P.J. Tucker. But I think they had combined about 27 rebounds though. But the rest of them going to have to step up with them though.
Yeah. You can't lose the offensive rebound battle the way they did. Corey, thank you. Let's get to James in New Jersey. He was first in the door. I put out the call. I said I need some help. And James was like, I got this man. I don't know who he is. I don't know who this Randy Scott is, but I'm going to call in and help him out. James, what's going on?
Yes, this is me, man, and this is my take, and I want to ask you a question on this. Now, when I'm looking at this Houston Rockets, all I see is a hybrid. James Harden is a hybrid version of Steve Nash. There is no post presence. The only time I see post presence is on the roll. And after everything that Russell Westbrook has gone through, averaging triple doubles, is James Harden going to catch the same amount of heat? Because I really don't like this. I mean, it's just shoot 3, and that's all I see. You know?
Yeah, but listen, you might be longing for a game that just isn't there right now in the NBA. I mean, we just had Corey call in and say, hey, I'm ready to live and die by the 3, and it feels like Houston is as well. Houston's trying to take whatever version of NBA basketball that Golden State evolved us all to, right? And has been for about 5-6 seasons now. Take that to the next level. And some of it is drawing contact beyond the 3-point line. Some of it is just relying purely on possessions and pace and tempo and the driving kick that James Harden facilitates and, quite frankly, is going to be a Hall of Famer at, because the way he plays the game is so sustainable long term. But you're right. I don't think you need a post presence. What you need is Clint Capella to play better, and he did last night, and it was almost enough, because in the end, we're talking about a 6-point game where your best player was at the very best dealing with blurry vision for the majority of his minutes and also missed 11 minutes of game action. And you still only lost by 6. And that feels like grasping, trying to find a silver lining here for the Rockets, but that's a positive angle. James, thanks for calling the Stephen A. Smith Show. What about Dre? I want to talk Draymond refs with Ryan in Texas. Ryan, you're on the Stephen A. Smith Show.
Hey, what's up, Randy, man? A lot of what you're saying I agree with, but one exception I'm taking is the fact that you have to consider the source. Draymond is on the winning end and the favorable end of a lot of these whistles. We all know that Draymond Green is one of the biggest ref complainers, technical foul getters in the NBA. So how am I supposed to take seriously him saying that the refs and the calls were embarrassing when he's benefiting from it, his team at least?
That's fair. That's fair. But
you know what I mean?
If you have a friend, though, let's say you have a friend who drives an Acura, and you want insight into that Acura, good and bad, you're going to go to the person who knows it, right? And Draymond Smith knows bad refereeing. So when he's not being sarcastic, when he's actually saying, I thought it was officiated pretty fairly, and we're talking about a Golden State team that had 2 more personal fouls called against them than Houston did.
But what I'm saying is in Game 1, when the reports came out, even in the last-minute report, all of those went against the Rockets. They were in favor of the Warriors.
Yeah.
In the first half, when those fouls weren't called on Klay, they were in favor of the Warriors. So, of course, the chatter is going to sound like chatter to them because they benefited from it.
Yeah.
So the source, to me, the source is as important as the chatter, and it's only chatter because this was actually what was going on the court. Now, to your point, last game, I completely agree with you. The offensive rebounds were ridiculous last night, and I mean, we turned the ball over 1 million times in the first half, so that's why we lost. But the chatter,
I think we lost Ryan, but I understand the point. And the offensive rebounding atrocious. It led to how many more shots? 91 shots for the Warriors compared to 77 for the Rockets, and the Rockets actually shot a better percentage from the floor. So it wasn't that Golden State turned, every single one of those extra opportunities into points. They didn't, but they had 6 more made field goals, and 6 points is the total difference. We haven't gotten into the Eastern Conference. There is plenty to get into there. Milwaukee hold serve. You knew the Bucks weren't going to go quietly at home. Did the Celtics take their foot off the gas in a reckless fashion? I feel like there was a lack of urgency, and quite frankly, you can't manufacture it. If you're down 0-1, about to go down 0-2, that urgency, that desperation is going to be different compared to if you take the first game as Boston did. So Boston's 5-game postseason win streak is no more. We need to get into what Giannis did and, quite frankly, what Kyrie did not. You talk about a Dothraki army, a disappearing act. What do we say happened with Kyrie Irving? He only had 9 points. It's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Let's get into the Eastern Conference, and we'll get into as well what we didn't see from Kyrie Irving, and quite frankly, the supporting cast, how they came correct for the Greek Freak in the nick of time. That and much more to Stephen A. Smith Show. Randy Scott in for Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Hey, right now, get ahead of the Mother's Day rush with 1-800-Flowers exclusive 30 for 30 offer. 30 assorted tulips for just $30. To order 30 stunning assorted tulips for only $30, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Stephen A. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code Stephen A. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code Stephen A. Offer expires today.
This show and all